that technically his facility was at a completely different level. I had never heard anything like what he was doing on guitar.
I've seen John McLaughlin technically pretty fast. I disagree with you. I mean, I agree with you I agree with you almost completely. Physically, I mean, but when Arthur would get going, he was untouchable. And he's playing stuff on that video. I might even go further to say that Arthur called McLaughlin a trailblazer. And McLaughlin, a lot of people discounted Arthur by saying, well, he's just a McLaughlin clone.
But
I've heard that. No.
It's not really.
If you listen to that, you watch that video, you can start to see some of it, that he's going further.
Well, that's my point, because I mean, I love John. Everything about John.
I'll put it this way: if you put them both together on the stage, I'm sorry.
It would be something serious there.
It would be serious, but I think Arthur being so competitive.
Yeah. Oh no, well that's
I think
what
McLaughlin
I mean.
could have held up.
Well,
because in this way, it wasn't so much the physicality. He was an audition and he was in the street show and everything. And his whole spirituality, which Arthur was into, and you look up at the sky. Arthur made better contact with whatever up there.
Whatever they were looking at.
Whatever he was going for, Arthur had that church thing. And that's a McLaughlin, and however you want to call it, I've never seen. So I would say anybody watching this, I defy, and I've seen a lot of YouTube McLaughlin. You look at that 245, that cadenza that Arthur does, and the whole thing is great. The whole interplay, the whole damn thing is great. When he does that cadenza, I defy it. It's like Arthur was so good that it was laughably good. You would laugh. It was so good. I defy you to find any John McLaughlin or any guitar player playing electric guitar that goes so far, that goes into the Coltrane realm on guitar. It gets as deep as he did. He went farther than McLaughlin.
Like I said, we with all the rehearsals that we did, I remember seeing him do some stuff that was just completely off the edge.
I also remember, I've interviewed Arthur a lot because I was so interested. I would just ask him kind of questions like, how did you get so good? And Arthur was, in these days, 2008, when we have affirmative action and people saying, they encounter racism every day, which is true for a lot of people. It's still here. But Arthur really had everything against him. And I believe you make your own destiny, you make your own choices. But Arthur was 5 times behind the 8 ball. Arthur grew up in Bed-Stuy, Mike Tyson's right? When the mom was abusive, his words, doing stuff she shouldn't have been doing. It was hearsay. This is hearsay. This is going around. I don't want to say who it was. Abused by a very close family member. Arthur never had one. His mom was on welfare. Came from poverty. Came from the ghetto. He used to survive bullies by doing homework. He was a brainiac. He was also great at school, naturally.
He was very smart.
I was a brainiac. I used to do the homework for him, which I definitely. Arthur was this kind of guy. He could probably do homework without too much effort. I'm sure. Right? I never seen him in school, but he must have been terrifying at school.
We used to challenge each other at things, because we had this intellectual kind of friendship, and he would tell me, he said, Cleve, he said, I can argue for or against the topic and win.
I used to argue with Arthur. Arthur was very Afrocentric. Like Arthur, we used to argue about this, that everything came from Africa, and a lot did. But I remember having that argument 15th that Edison did not invent the light bulb. He said the light bulb came from Africa. And I said, where? This is before the internet. Where can you show me a light bulb in Africa then before 1900? Please just show me. And the car, everything. We used to argue about all kinds of stuff. So he grew up without a piano. How did you get so good?
He didn't have a piano.
He used to play on neighbors' pianos, and his first idol was Leonard Bernstein. He used to conduct with a stick and wanted to be Leonard when he was 8. He never practiced piano that much. He never practiced piano. He never spent a lot of time on it. Are you serious?
How
about altos? Not that much.
Not that much,
Now, I, for a fact, know he was playing at the Hare Krishna Temple. I used to play with, he's one of these guys who developed by playing. We would play, and he would play in different, he would challenge himself to play the same tunes in different keys. But he said guitar is the only instrument that I practiced. And he said, I slaved over guitar. He said, Charles, I was a monk. That's that word. Monk. I shut myself away for 6 years. 18 hours a day, I did nothing else but practice. I didn't pursue sex. I did nothing. For 6 years, it was the only instrument I practiced. And I worked so hard at it. And Colin, who was on that radio show telling stories about it, you used to guys be on the road, and they used the rough taskmaster and used to practice with you guys and with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you used to have to practice the same things.
We had some stuff that some of the lines that we were playing were just so demanding that if you didn't practice the stuff, you would definitely be.
Did you play a lot of unison lines with them?
Yeah, we did a lot of unison lines, but I mean it was really accelerated stuff. That if you miss one note, you're already out of alignment.
I was under the impression that besides playing stuff, original stuff, you guys were just practicing for scales.
Oh no, yeah, we did a lot of that as well. The group rehearsal was just so that we could kind of bring the unit together.
But I think it was something about you and him. Didn't you and him used to practice?
Oh yeah, no, because we lived together for a good while, you know.
Where Arthur just get up and just practice?
Oh, he practiced
you
all
saw
day.
It.
He practiced
I never
all
saw
day
that.
long. Yeah, no, all day.
He'd get out of bed.
Well, he had a regiment from in the morning that he would get up and start and practice all day, like maybe till like 11, 12, and then he might go out, come back in and do the same thing into the evening. And then he would, or if he had to go to a gig, he'd practice all the way, like 5 hours in the morning until like 4 o'clock, and then he would go out and maybe jam with somebody or something.
He had gigs?
Yeah, he might have been jamming with somebody or just teaching somebody or something like that. Like he has
he had students.
There's a guy named Lou who lived right around the corner from me, and he taught Lou for years. And I was just talking to Lou the other day because these people are getting in touch with me now through the website.
What's his last name?
Milton Lou, that's what I mean. But anyway, Lou is
you know Juan Quinones on the website?
He wrote.
Did he used to work at Sam Ash?
I'm not sure.
Anyway, so you said teach this guy Lou.
Yeah, but Lou is supposedly at this point. Lou said, "I got to tell you this story." So I was talking to Lou, and he says to me, he says, Cleve, he says, I got people wanting me to play with them here and there and do this and do that and do the other. He says, Cleve, I'm gonna tell you, man, because he was like a kind of a mechanical drone sort of practicing guitar. He just basically did whatever Arthur taught him. He didn't have much musicality or anything, so it was very,
Hey man,
mechanical.
if you have no musicality and you do what Arthur taught you, I still gotta give you props.
Well, that's really the story here. So, he back in those days, it would be like, it would be more like just like basic, rigid mechanical lines, yeah. And so he says to me, he says, Cleve, he says, now I close my eyes and I see a blackboard appear. He says, I don't even have to look at the neck anymore.
Wow.
That's what he says.
Well, I mean, meaning that it's just a blackboard.
A blackboard of all of the, you see, because Arthur was showing him how.
Not a blank blackboard.
No, a blackboard appear of all of the stuff that Arthur taught him. So he says now he doesn't even have to look at the guitar, because back then this guy spent every day from the time I knew him back then until now, he would just practice guitar every single day.
And Arthur didn't look at the neck. He used to look at.
He didn't look at the neck. He didn't really have to. And he used to also, you see the stuff Stanley Jordan is doing. Arthur used to do that stuff too.
Well, Arthur used to go like this.
But
Stanley Jordan made a lot of music.
Yeah.
Arthur used to do it for effect. But did you know that Stanley Jordan?
Oh, Stanley used to. I know.
Used
Stanley
to follow around Arthur.
Yeah, I know.
And go to and be a real acolyte. Be a real right.
Yeah, I know about that. I know.
As did Vernon Reid.
Vernon Reid too. Yeah. It's funny because I dropped Stanley Jordan off home one day from in the city, and we were talking all the way in, and he told me all of that stuff, And I just recently saw him at the NAMM show too.
Did you?
I saw him, and he was telling me the same thing, kind of like you were saying. He wants to know if he can get in touch with somebody who can help him, because he has some material that he wants to do something.
Wow. I sent him an email about the website.
Yeah.